to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. And as always, we're here talking about using real estate to build a life worth living, to literally reach financial independence. And today, I'm going to talk about what it means to prepare for financial independence. This one is really important to me for the simple reason that when I started, 29, 30 years ago, I was mentally prepared for financial independence. It was kind of shoved down my throat. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that and how you can do it without having to have it shoved down your throat. Meaning, I was forced into financial independence by corporate America and the mistreatment that I got in corporate America. It woke me up, changed my life. In other words, I am friends with the guy who gave me the pay cut that motivated me to become financially independent. I actually work out with him at the gym. I haven't seen him in a while, but go back a year or so and I saw him at the gym and we chatted all the time. I always said if I ever saw the guy, I was going to hug him. I didn't do that, but it was that screw over was the best thing that ever happened to me. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. I want to finish up something that we started at the end of yesterday's show, and then the show ended really kind of mid-thought. But it prompted several emails where people were like, "Are you find deals for people?" Yes, our company finds deals for our members. But let me make something perfectly clear. We're not their only source, nor will we ever be their only source. It is foolish to think that one source of deals is going to supply your entire business line. I don't like that concept, never have. You've got to have multiple sources for deals. Now, we are a very credible, effective source for deals, but you really need, I like 4 or 5 different sources. I guess it's really more than that. I use 24 real estate agents, and I have 20 to 30 wholesalers, and then I also look at software that checks on foreclosures, tax liens, things like that. Now, I will admit that I can't even remember the last time I did a foreclosure. Now, these are post-foreclosure, a true foreclosure. A lot of times people talk about foreclosures before they're foreclosed on. I prefer to use the term pre-foreclosure because it's confusing. It's not really a foreclosure yet if the family that owns it is still in the house. Now, I did a lot of that 30 years ago where I would meet with families who were, for whatever reason, usually it was divorce. A lot of times it was they had let the property just reach a point where it wasn't livable anymore. I will never understand that. And death, there were different reasons. Occasionally, it was loss of job. They just couldn't make their mortgage anymore, and they were about to get foreclosed on, get their credit ruined, and lose the house. And I would sit down with these families and figure out a way to get them sometimes $6,000, sometimes $10,000, get them out of the house, give them the $10,000 for moving costs and to get settled in their new place. And then I would take the house and sell it to an investor and as I've described, as a wholesaler, I would make around $10,000 doing that. And I never did less than one a month. So I like multiple sources. The old, how does it put? It's like having multiple fishing poles. You're going to catch more fish. There's no question about it. Why am I spending so much time on this? Because I'm meeting people that are members of other groups, and they're going, I'm not finding any deals. And then I ask them how many sources they have for the deal. And they say, just this other group. That's not fair. That to you, not to that group. I'm not worried about the group. I'm talking about you. It's not fair to you to rely solely on one source for finding deals. I was a member of every group that I could find. Now, I had to keep it secret, but bottom line, I was everywhere. I found deals in probably, I would say, in excess of 10 different sources. Eventually, it became just my realtors and just my wholesalers. But that was because at the beginning, I didn't realize how many agents you need or how many wholesalers you need. I thought, you can get away with 3 or 4 agents and 3 or 4 wholesalers. Nope, that's not going to work. You've got to have a bunch of them so that you are doing deals every single month. So be very leery of any company that says, I'm going to find every deal you need. You'll never have to look for deals. That's just I don't think that's realistic. What we're doing at Real Wealth Academy is I'm cultivating a group of wholesalers that I'm going to train myself. I am so irritated. And I've got an old friend who does not like wholesalers at all. And doggone it, I can understand why. I heard from a competent investor who was at one of these big wholesalers, and these guys were selling deals at full price to suckers who didn't have a mentor. They're not going to want to sell to my members because my members know how to analyze a deal. They want to sell to suckers who don't have a mentor and don't know what they're doing. But what's the problem with that? You can only sell them one because you burn them, and that's what they're doing. These wholesalers are burning everybody, but they don't care. They just find the next sucker because there's one born every minute. Don't be a sucker. You've got to, this is part of the rest of the show, which is you've got to prepare for success. And part of that is getting a mentor to learn the skills to become successful. But when it comes to finding deals, you need multiple sources. I'm promoting people to join multiple groups at the same time. And we'll talk just a little bit more about this when we come back from the break. This is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Phone lines are open, 281-558-5738. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle? You can and should have some real estate in your portfolio. This is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Starting with bad credit and no money at age 27, I began investing in real estate. By 30, I was retired. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Remember, don't worry about the subject matter I'm covering. If you've got any question about your real estate or getting your first piece of real estate, you please call me. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. You're also welcome to email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. So we're talking about just a couple more minutes, because this one, I really worry. And I guess the thing that worried me was a gentleman was at my introductory workshop last night, and he was struggling to find deals. And I don't know, it just irritates me because I'm turning down deals. And I didn't know exactly what to say, but now I do, having almost 24 hours to think about it. What I should have told him was, line up your own agents. Don't rely on a club, including mine, just alone, I should say. Get multiple sources for deals. So that's what I'm going to be doing for my students at Real Wealth Academy. I'm going to teach them how to have 4 and 5 fishing poles in the pond so that they are like me, finding more deals than they can do. And that's really the way it should be. And then my wholesalers are not going to rip people off, because my wholesalers are going to understand it is better to make $10,000 from the same person 10 times than to make $20,000 once. Now that sounds stupid when you say it out loud, but I'm telling you, that's what these other wholesalers are doing. They're making $20,000 and $30,000 on deals they should only be making $10,000 on. That's just pure greed. You just shot yourself in the foot the moment you did that, Mr. Wholesaler. Because that person will never come back to you. And you have to be out there hustling, finding another sucker. I have one agent that I must have bought 100 units from. Why? Because he always brought real deals. And I could say the same thing, well, not 100, but a lot of deals from one of my wholesalers too. So make sure, if you're looking for deals, you're a member of multiple clubs that find deals, as well as taking personal responsibility and setting yourself up to find deals as well. And I will be teaching that in my 2-day class. Okay, let's talk about preparing for success. And when I go through this, again, I'm referring back 30 years when here I was working 60, 70 hours a week. What's that do to your relationship with your spouse? There is no relationship. You know, you still love each other, but you're not around. When are you having romance? When are you having fun? No, by the time you get off work, you don't have time for anything but pick up the dry cleaning, go to the grocery store, get the oil changed. There's no romance. I almost lost my wife because I just wasn't there. I don't blame her. I wasn't there. You know, when she brought it up, I was like, that makes total sense. I'd leave my stupid ass too. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I don't think I'm allowed to say that. Anyway, it didn't even shock me. Let's put it that way. It was like, oh, really? I saw this coming. Now, we stayed together. We just celebrated our 33rd anniversary last week. But all of these catastrophes, I'm working 60 hours a week. I study, I read, I make myself extremely good at what I'm doing. I win a national sales contest. They send me to Hawaii for a week. I get back from Hawaii for the week, and they cut my pay by $20,000 a year. I'm like, what in the is going on? My life is in shambles, and I'm doing everything I was told to do. I was told to work hard in high school, get into college, get a job with a good company, work your butt off, be good at what you do, read, study, excel so you're a good employee. Oh, be dedicated to and loyal to your company. What a bunch of bull. That doesn't work. Never has, never will. So with those things going on, And this is the other funny thing. Guess where my physical condition was? I was working in the health club industry. Guess what I wasn't doing? Exercising. I didn't want to be in that club after 70 hours. I wanted to go home. I was mentally beat. So my health suffered. My marriage suffered. My finances suffered. Can you see all these things coming to a head? See, I was forced to succeed. I had no other choice. Now, there's people smarter than me that don't wait for all that to happen. These people are smarter than me in that they figure out in advance that it is going to happen to them. And before it does happen to them, and I love people like this, they go do something about it in advance. It's called being proactive. If you've read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, go read that chapter, and all this will make sense. Yeah, it's habit 1. He or they see it coming. It could have been a coworker that saw it happen to me and went, whoa, I don't want that to happen to me. So he uses that as leverage to get himself to take action to become financially independent. So here's the steps, and they're not in any specific order, to prepare yourself for financial independence. Moving from middle class to millionaire. Because I'm really talking to people who have the basics worked out. You know how to keep a job. You know how to pay your bills. You've got the basics down. You even have a little money in savings. Not a lot, 100 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand, a couple hundred grand. You got good credit. You got a good job. These are the people, I guess, that I'm going to call middle class. If you can't figure out how to keep a job because you're, and I'm going to be brutal here. If you go out and you get a job and everybody you work for is an idiot, so you end up out quitting the job, they're not the idiots. You are. If every time you get a job you lose it, they're not the idiots. You are. See, the world is perfect. It really is. Just the way it is. Why is that need to be said? Because so many people think that the world needs to change for them. Guess what? Ain't happening. You've got to change and adapt to the world. Because the world is the way it is. And here's the other one. Is it fair? No. Who told you it was fair? No one ever told you life was fair. It's not supposed to be fair. It's survival of the fittest. Now, I want to be very careful after saying that. I do believe in helping and serving others. But if you're not willing to help and serve others, then it's survival of the fittest. You're not fit, and you're going to fail. So, in preparation for success, moving from middle class to millionaire, first thing, and I preached about this 2 weeks ago, get your fitness in check. It is the foundation of all wealth. I called 20 different syndicators today. And this was all between, I guess the first one I called, a syndicator is a person who puts the apartment complex together. Some companies call it a lead investor. I called about 20 different syndicators this morning. Guess where I think it was 8 out of the 20 were? At the gym. They couldn't talk to me because they were training. Remember that success leaves clues. If I call 20 syndicators, and granted they are picked and chosen by me, so one of the things I look for in a successful person is physical condition. So you could say, well, that's just because you picked those 20. They just all happen to work out. Okay, I'll agree with that. But I will tell you this. I can't think of if I had 100 syndicators on my list, and it wasn't that many, if I had 100 syndicators on my list, almost all of them do. Success leaves clues. And one of those is that top performers have high energy. High energy comes from what? Donuts and coffee? No. It comes from exercise. It is the only source of energy other than drugs. And I don't recommend that. If you want to increase your energy levels, there's only one way: exercise. Now, you can say, well, if I lose weight, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's going to go faster if you exercise. And even if you lose the weight, if you lose it incorrectly, you lose as much muscle tissue as you lose fat tissue, and then you're just as tired because you're weaker. So exercise is the key to success in life. It is the foundation. We'll talk more about the other parts or steps to financial independence or preparing for financial independence when we come back from the break. This is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle. Listen to the GetRealWealth.com radio show to find out how you can do it too. Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Remember, you can always find us online at GetRealWealth.com. And I'm teaching a class tomorrow morning on this and quite a few other points. I'm going to go do a single family case study and show you how we make over 300% rate of return the first year we own some of these. And then I'm going to show you an apartment value play where we take a 30 unit and literally double our money in 2 years. Double our money. That's a 50% rate of return annually. And that's literally in your pocket 50%. I'm not even including equity buildup, appreciation, principal pay down. I'm not even including normal cash flow. It's just a special thing that you can do with apartments that you can't do with houses. It's a very powerful tool. Then I'll go over the 13 principles that we use to run our families and businesses, and it's from 9 a.m. to 11. We're done and out of there by 11, so you can still enjoy your Saturday. But if you are looking for a mentor and you want some help becoming financially independent, please come listen to this workshop. Go to GetRealWealth.com. Upper right-hand corner, it says free workshop, and you can register there. Okay, we're talking about fitness. I'm going to tell you just quickly, this is foundational. If you don't have your health, the rest of this, you'll be out of whack. You'll be unbalanced. And it's very difficult without fitness. The reason I say this is because as a mentor for the last 30 years, I come across people all the time that just don't have the energy to do it. And I speak with them about it, and it's so weird to me. Why, when you're fat, do you not like being told? I'm telling you this. When I got fat, when I was 45 pounds overweight, I wanted somebody to tell me because I didn't catch it. I was an idiot. Finally, my wife got, Steve, you know you got a gut. Oh, no, I don't. Yeah, you do. Really? And I went and did something about it. But if she hadn't told me, I would have been in la-la delusional land. Man, if there's something wrong, you want people to tell you. So anyway, I had discussions with them, and I noticed this. If people took my advice and started working out, and we're only talking about going to the gym 3 times a week. If you're going to excel, go 4 times a week for about an hour. That's from the time you walk through the door till you leave. Progressive resistance exercise, meaning weights or machines, Sorry, ladies, aerobics only works for about the first 60 days. Then it's just, we can go study that some other time. Work out 3 times a week. Get your resting heart rate down. Get your muscle strong. Reduce your fat content and feel good. And increase your energy levels. See, I watch people fail because they just didn't have the energy. They couldn't get excited. They couldn't get motivated. They come home from work, they're pooped. Fitness, get it in check. Second, family in check. Love your kids and make sure that your wife knows that you have undying, unconditional love for her. And ladies, the same for you with your husband or significant other, whatever the circumstance is. Peace at home. You know, there's this joke, and it's one-sided. It's kind of chauvinistic. It says, if mama's happy, keep mama happy and the whole world's happy, or something like that. Let me tell you something, ladies, and whoever, you keep the man happy too, and things go great. This was discovered and discussed over 100 years ago in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he discusses how men who have romantic, deep, passionate relationships with their spouse, way more successful. Way more successful. 50 years ago, Zig Ziglar brought it up and discussed it in depth. He goes on to say that ladies, and I'm using heterosexual relationships, male, female, your situation could be different, but this principle is the same. Ladies, your income is directly related to your spouse's satisfaction. Guys and girls with high sex drives are more successful in life. It's that simple. You can try to argue it, but if you stymied your sex drive by saying, oh, sex is dirty, it's this, that, and the other, first off, you're the pervert, not the other people. It is horrible to do that. Cultivate it, push it forward, and enjoy it, because you're going to be more successful as a result. And again, this material, and yes, there's material thousands of years, but the only two that I can refer you to are Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and then Zig Ziglar, I think it's See You at the Top, is the book where he discusses it. Go read those books, and you'll see what I'm saying. So, family, romance, keep them at high levels. Next, ego in check. Your ego has to be controlled. See, we all have one. The problem is, and I would literally say 99% of people don't use their ego the way that I do. I use my ego to propel me forward towards my goals. And the way that I do it is based off of Anthony Robbins' work in Unlimited Power, the book Unlimited Power. I come to, I don't know if I'd like it, I guess I don't care, because I've got relative, let me be very humble here, relative control of my ego. I still have ego that I don't control, and it's stupid, it's ineffective, but the majority of my ego I do have in control. And what I did was I first came to the admission, which is painful, to admit that I had a big ego. Then I said, well, wait a second. If I've got a big ego, how can I turn that to good? Well, again, this is discussed, and it may be, you might have to read both of Anthony Robbins' books. The first one is Unlimited Power. The second one is Awaken the Giant Within. I think it was in the two books. I came to the conclusion that what if I attached my ego to quality things? In other words, don't attach your ego to houses and cars. clothes, jewelry, jobs. Attach your ego to romancing your wife, raising your kids, great kids, having passive income. And I did that. So when I say get your ego in check, that's all I'm talking about. Don't try to defeat your ego, because you will lose. There's no way to get rid of it. It's there. Some of it is required for protection and survival, so that's why it's not going anywhere. You can study that on your own. But if you realize and admit that you have an ego too, and it may be attached to the wrong things, it's actually pretty easy to switch it to the right things. Now, here comes something that I've been called shallow for. You might have to get new friends. I'm not saying lose your old friends. I'm not saying stop loving them or stop caring about them. I'm just saying you may have a bunch of ego-based friends, and while you're struggling over here trying to change what your ego is attached to, every time you get with them, they try to draw you back in. That's rough. You may want to get some new friends, which goes to the next step, which is control who you hang out with. Sounds like the same thing almost, but it doesn't necessarily have to be friends. In other words, I have a lot of people that I hang out with that, I guess they are my friends, but not like I have a group of friends that are just friends. We have no business together. There's no transaction between us. I just love these men and women. They're my friends. And then I have a group of friends that I'm in transactional relationships with. In other words, there's money involved. I love them too. But that's what I'm talking about. You need, is that right? Am I saying this right? You need some transactional relationships, some business relationships, some friends in business. Because you're always going to be the equivalent or the average of the five people you hang out with the most. I used to say your 5 best friends, but I'm learning now that I recognize that I have 2 different groups of friends, that it's really the combination of who you hang out with most. And I've got probably 4 transactional friends that I hang out with a lot, and 1 just plain old good friend. So I'm the average of those 4. But if all you have are just wild, fun friends, you're going to be the average of those 5. I hope that makes sense. And if you want to change, you've got to get some new friends. Again, I'm not saying get rid of your friends or stop loving them or caring about them. But if you're going to move up, you got to move up in every arena. Which leads to the next one, which we'll talk about after the break, which is build your team. All right, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 and 36% are dead? The good news is that here at the GetRealWealth.com radio show, we know what the other 5% are doing. 70% of them own real estate. We are a mentoring group for new and experienced real estate investors. We will show you how to build a second stream of income that will allow you to retire at any age. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, please go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Remember, you can email me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com, AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. And you can ask me anything to do with real estate investing, or maybe you got questions about our mentoring program. Feel free to email me, and I'll share with you what I can by email. If your email is too complex, I will ask you to call me, but I can answer probably 70 or 80% of them by email. It's, again, AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. So we're talking about again, I called it Preparing for Financial Independence this morning, or moving from middle class to millionaire. You've got to do things differently than the middle class if you're going to be a millionaire. In other words, you will actually become a mental millionaire before you have the dollars. It is hard to understand until you do it. But I guarantee you, the day you wake up with $1 million worth of real estate equity or $1 million in the bank, you'll agree with me. You'll go, I was ready for this 3 years ago. I had changed 3 years ago. Now the money's here. But if you do not change first, the money's not going to come. It doesn't work that way. You have to become more to get more out of life. So let's review, and then we'll finish with building your team. Get your fitness in check. I know I bring this up quite a bit, and I guess I better share with you why. I had two aunts, an aunt and an uncle, that both died of obesity. One from heart disease, the other from diabetes. I watched it happen. And being a young kid, I didn't really know what was going on at the time. It dawned on me really years after they passed, and I think it was my mother that finally told me what happened. It is a horrible disease. Having an eating disorder is a horrible disease. Food changes the way you feel, therefore it is a drug, and people get addicted to it. And then they don't exercise. It's a 1-2 punch that leaves you dead. 1-2 punch. They don't call it morbid obesity for no reason. Morbid means death. It's called death obesity. You're going to die 5, 10, 15 years early, and you're going to have a reduced quality of lifestyle the entire time. It's ludicrous to me. But again, food changes the way you feel. It's a drug, so I can understand. But get it in check. Realize that it is the foundation to success. And I'm not the guy telling you to go run 7 days a week, 5 miles. I'm telling you, if you get your eating in check and you work out 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to get in shape. That's all I work out, 3 or 4 times a week. And I knocked off 25 pounds, got 20 to go, and I'm relatively muscular. And I'm 55. That's the other thing. Muscle stays with you all your life. When you see an old person slump-shouldered, and that's because they made a choice not to exercise. Because my mentor, Colonel Thomas, stood straight up and had all his muscle at 80 because he exercised. Next, get your family in check. Love, 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 and then love some more. Make sure your kids know how much you care about them and how proud you are of them. Make sure that your significant other knows it as well. Peace at home is another piece of the foundation of success. Get your ego in check, get it under control so that it's attached to what you truly want out of life. Get it attached to romance. Get it attached to fitness. Get it attached to passive income. Next, I skipped one. Forgive me. Written goals based on success. And the reason I skipped this because I have to discuss these two at the same time. Build your team. We talked a little bit about getting some better friends. Not letting go of your old friends, but getting some better friends. This is part of building your team. Life, and especially business, is a team sport. I think I even talked about this yesterday. I don't let them, they always want to say, self-made millionaire Steve Davis. I won't let anybody introduce me that way because I am not a self-made millionaire. The reason I'm a millionaire is the result of the efforts of over 100 people. I've got a list. You have to have a team. And from that team, of successful people, you'll be able to cultivate a set of goals that are millionaire goals. If you are middle class and you just go sit down with a goal setting workshop, guess what type of goals you're going to set? Middle class or millionaire? You're going to set middle class goals, because that's the mentality that you have at this point. If you read, study, you can of course change that. It's way quicker to get a mentor that will show you the difference between middle class goals and millionaire goals. I talk about it all the time. Millionaires have the goal of romance, fitness, passive income. The middle class doesn't. It's odd. When I say it out loud, I'm just like, well, isn't that everybody's goal? It's not. The middle class wants a fancy car first. They want a big house. They want jewelry. They want clothes. All these baubles that symbolize wealth, but really don't. The middle class think those things are important. My Ferrari. The middle class thinks that Ferrari is important. But I go to events where I pull up, I'm one of 100 Ferraris. It doesn't mean a dang thing, but it does to the middle class. See, they're mixed up. You're mixed up. What really matters is your family, your fitness, and your income. Passive income, that is, primarily. You can be attached to your passion as well. I should add that. Meaning, whatever you do is your job. It's okay to be attached to that. But if you're at a job that's not giving you the results that you want, don't let your ego get attached to it. Get rid of that job. Go buy some passive income. Get out of that job you're miserable at. Go find a job you love and get your ego attached to that job. So those are the four big ones. Romance, fitness, passive income, earned income. There's where your ego should be directing you. Because once you have those things in line, it's a little thing called joy. Joy, where you're happy every day. And doggone it, you're allowed to be happy. It's okay. Now, you may think I'm saying that facetiously, but I'm not. I know people who don't believe that. They don't believe it's okay to be happy. They punish themselves for being happy. I've dated girls who punish themselves for enjoying romance. Unbelievable. So you've got to build your team. One of the first places to start is among friends. Join a real estate investor group. Doesn't have to be ours, but join one and start making friends there. That changed my life. When I started hanging out with financially independent people, I changed to a financially independent person. Was I financially independent? Nope. But I began making the decisions that would lead me there, and it eventually did. And I promise you, it will work for you as well. I can't remember who it was. It may have been Rockefeller. He said this, and I always thought this was ludicrous. But now that I've achieved and I'm at the point where I'm at, I think he was right. He said, if you want to get rich, save all your money and go buy the most fancy suit you can buy. Go to the fanciest restaurant that you can find and start meeting people at that fancy restaurant. And like I said, I thought that was ludicrous. I didn't do it. But with the wisdom of hindsight, I know exactly what he meant. Because what he was doing, that individual was changing the way he thought. Your thoughts then lead to new actions. So it changed the way they acted. Your actions lead to new results. So it changed the results that they got from their life. So, in a quick overview, focus on fitness, focus on family, get that ego attached to the right things, get written goals based on successful people's goals, and build your team. So, all right, I hope that was helpful. Again, if anybody wants to meet me, we've got a team already built for you. If you'd like to meet me tomorrow morning, I'm going to teach a workshop from 9 to 11. Go to getrealwealth.com, getrealwealth.com, upper right-hand corner, click the free workshop. Thank you for listening, and have a great weekend.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.